Hello everybody, hi. My name is Ilvinio Kikchin. I'm a photojournalist from the Netherlands and I'm currently standing in the Africa Museum near Nijmegen. Let me switch this, there we go, so you can actually see where we are. It's a beautiful museum and I really want to welcome you today to this Instagram live talk. It's called Talking Photography, where I will be interviewing five different photographers in 5 weeks in a row. And the exhibition that I'm standing in is called Through the Lens Of, and it's really amazing. I wish you could see the whole venue. It's really big and beautiful. And this show that you see here, the Through the Lens Of show, is part of the works of 17 visual storytellers from different African countries. And they are all selected from the African Photojournalism Database, which is an initiative from World Press Photo and Everyday Africa. And the exhibition is a collaboration between the Africa Museum and World Press Photo. And I'm now on my way to the beautiful series, let me show you, here we are, of Etinosa Yvonne from Nigeria. And the series is called It's All in My Head. And we're going to be talking to her right now. I'm going to invite her. There we go. So we're now waiting for her to join this call. And there she is. Hey! Wait, let me first show you. There we go.
Okay.
It looks really beautiful. And you also have the video here. And the works here. Can you see properly? Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I think it looks really good.
Good. Yeah, it does. It's really nice. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
So let me just put this stand down so I will be able to properly look at you. There we go. So we always ask everyone we interview one question, which is, what did you do today? So can you share with us what you did today?
Okay, so I basically, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. I'm currently in the north central part of Nigeria to resume my research on It's All in My Head, actually. Yeah, I've been away from it for a year because of the pandemic. I didn't get to travel, so I came in, I think 2 days ago, but I didn't get to go out today because I'm still, you know how it is, you have to plan, you have to keep reaching out to people and knocking on doors before you get access to the people that you want to speak to. So I'm currently in the planning stage and waiting to get feedback from the people that I'm reaching out to before I begin working, conducting research. Yeah.
And what do you like best, the photographing stage or the research, reaching out stage of a project?
I think to be very honest, I think I enjoy every step of it. I think I enjoy, but there are times when I feel a little down. I actually did conduct a research yesterday, and it was quite heavy, the type of things that I heard.
Can imagine.
So yeah, I say I enjoy it, but at the same time, it has a way that it gets to me. So yeah, it's mixed feelings, but I'm committed to working on it, and yeah, it's just mixed feelings. But I do enjoy, being on the field and doing, a project that is my own, something I'm deeply connected to, and hoping that it becomes as impactful as I want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure with the dedication you're putting into it, I'm sure it will be, and it already is. Oh, we're losing your connection a bit. Can you hear me okay?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. I think I was breaking up a bit, or maybe you were. So what I would like to talk about, before we talk about the series, I would really like to learn more about you. And I would also like to let everyone know who's watching that you can ask questions. So if you have any question coming up, Gulshan is watching all the way from Johannesburg.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Gulshan. But if anyone has any questions, just shout, put them in the comments, and then we'll definitely ask them. And also for everyone, it might be good to know that we will be talking for about 20 minutes. So feel free to ask anything. So I would like to start with kind of getting to know you. Can you tell me what kind of what kind of photographer are you? How would you describe yourself?
Okay, so I normally would say that okay, let me say this. So when I decided that I wanted to start out, like explore photography as a medium of expression, I was more drawn to documentary type stories, and but I think that as I'm growing in my practice, my interests are shifting, they're changing. So yeah, I think that I'm still figuring out who I am, but I think I like my journey, I like my process, I like how, to an extent, I'm evolving, and I'm just, experimenting as the day goes by and just allowing myself to grow. So yeah, I think I'm basically at the point where I'm figuring me out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's always a good point to be in, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to figure you out, because you, I don't know, you find your visual voice, I guess.
Yeah.
Little bits of it every time.
Mm-hmm.
And was it always your dream to become a photographer, or did you have other?
No, I never knew. I never knew that I would be a photographer. I actually didn't grow up in, like, I didn't have a background, or I wasn't exposed to photography when I was growing up. I think the highest form of photography I was exposed to, I knew my father had a camera, but it wasn't something that we had access to. I would see pictures in magazines. They were, I think a part of me liked to travel more than, I never really gave photography a thought. I'm a trained theater artist. I graduated from, I like acting. It wasn't, I think that I've been going through different stages of my life. So at the point, I remember my brother used to say, "Are you confused? Because one minute you want to be a doctor, the next minute you're acting, you want to be a broadcaster, and now I'm in photography." So yeah, my life has always been, me trying to figure me out. But it just happened that I think that my interest in travel sort of led me to this point. I've always been interested in exploring. I found out at some point in 2015 that I knew that I wasn't going to be this type of person that would just sit in an office, and be in one place. I like to move around, and maybe that's why I really love the markets. I like market. I like to go to market because, I get to move from one corner to another corner to another corner. So it was the same thing. I like to go on the field. I like to travel. I like to, have conversations with people. I like to just sit in the midst of strangers and just observe. So yeah, that's basically what led me here. But it was never like a dream. I didn't know any photographer. I didn't know, anything at all about photography.
So what age did you start? How many years ago did you start?
So I don't remember the age, but I mean, I was, I think maybe I was 26 or something. I don't know. But so I wanted to start a travel blog in 2015 because I knew that I was tired of my job, and then I wanted to resign. Yeah, so I bought a small camera. It was a point and shoot camera because what I wanted to do was to travel to different tourist sites in Nigeria and, gather content. I think a part of me has always loved to research, to find out things by myself firsthand. I don't always like to depend on the things that I see on the internet because, everybody will come with their own perspective, and that's what it is when you are dependent on other people. So I wanted to go and see things for myself. I didn't want to rely on I didn't want to be like a copywriter using content from other pages.
That's why you like at the point so much. You really want to know everything is for real.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to see. I want to experience it for myself. And then I didn't, like, the travel blog never took off, but I started to travel. I'll go to different places. I would, ask questions. And then with this point and shoot camera that I had, I would just take, pictures. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was just taking pictures. And I think I sort of liked it. I mean, I was like, oh, so I can actually take pictures. I like this idea of taking pictures. But anyway, I actually had to start working again because I wasn't really young, but it was just like I didn't know how to develop this idea that I had. I knew that I wanted to do this thing, but I didn't know how I was going to develop the idea. So I started working again. So photography was just once in a while. My elder sister bought a camera because she was going to start an e-commerce store. So I stopped using the point and shoot. I was using this small, I think it's Canon 600, small DSL.
You could
DSLR.
use hers.
Yeah, so she gave me hers to use. Yeah, so I basically was just using it, but it wasn't like I really felt like, oh, I could do this thing, because at the point it was like, if I even decide to explore this, how do I make a living out of it? So while working, I would take pictures every once in a while. But in 2016, I worked in a health organization from 2015 to 2016. I think that. So when I started traveling, because I was, thinking about myself yesterday, and I was just saying, what led me to this point? So in 2015, when I started to travel, like to get, gather content for my, what do you call it now? For what will have been a blog, I eventually, I noticed there's a disparity. Like when you go to a state and then you go to the metropolis, everything seems so organized and so beautiful and so lovely. And then when I go further down to other, as we call it here in Nigeria, local government areas and, communities, then I'll be like, oh my goodness, am I in the same state? Because the level of underdevelopment in that space, in that particular region or area would be so shocking compared to what I saw in the, in the metropolis. So it was just sort of, interesting. And then in 2016, I started working for this organization. And then I was working in a community, and I met this couple. The woman had fistula. Fistula is a condition, fistula, VVF. So it's a condition, sometimes it arises from prolonged birth, especially in underage women, prolonged labor, sorry. And she started to leak uncontrollably. So that means they cannot hold their pee, and in some cases they cannot hold their poo and all of that.
By the way, everyone in the meantime is calling you a queen and a chief and another chief and a hardworking queen. I just want to say your fans are definitely here.
Oh, thank you so much, you guys.
I'm not sure if you're reading along, but I'm seeing them.
No, I'm just like, I'm reading, but I'm trying to focus because, anyway, you guys, thank you. So
we also kind of have to move towards the series. So, but let's finish your story quickly, but because we only have 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay, so basically,
tell me how it started.
Yeah, eventually, I followed them for a surgery, a corrective surgery. And then I took pictures of them with my sister's camera. And I found it interesting. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just liked it and I kept it. I resigned in 2017. And I think after a horrible work experience, and I was like, you know what? I've been playing around with this thing. I want to see if it could work out for me, because I was really passionate about telling stories and all of that. And that's how I started. I started learning online. I would go on YouTube. I went to the University of YouTube, and then I would watch videos. I read lots of articles, and I started to reach out to other people to say, I like to do photography. I'll look at people's websites, study their images. And yeah, that's how it has been for me.
That's really cool. What I really love is that you're so super self-taught. You just quit your job, ran off with camera, and did it. Not a lot of people have the courage to do that, because a job is a risky and exactly. Yeah, I can imagine. So can you tell us?
Okay, yeah, go on.
Can you see it now? Yeah, there. Sorry. Can you tell us about the series you made and how that came about? Well, first, maybe explain what it is about for people who don't know the series.
Okay, so It's All in My Head has evolved. I started the project in 2018. When I started it, I used to say that It's All in My Head is a project that explores the coping mechanisms of survivors of terrorism and violent conflict. But right now I have reworked that because I've expanded the scope of my research. So I am looking at the coping mechanisms of survivors of terrorism and extreme instances of conflict and cruelty. The aim of this project, I'm using it to draw awareness to, how people who have witnessed traumatic situations, how they cope in terms of their mental health, and also to shed light on why we need to improve, make, as much as possible, demystify mental health, make it affordable, accessible for people, especially who have witnessed, some of these extreme atrocities. I started it in 2018 after watching a documentary about some refugees living in Syria, and in particular a young boy who didn't want to go to school because he was traumatized by, sorry, documentary of refugees living in Jordan that were from Syria, and in particular a young boy who didn't want to go to school because he was traumatized by the things that he witnessed while he was in Syria. Eventually, after they spoke to him, he was able to open up, and based on he had like PTSD, and that was the reason why he didn't go to school. But eventually he went back to school. But in the time when I was learning about photography, I used to go, it was really hard, but I'll go to some of these communities in Abuja where I reside, and then I'll have conversations with people, and some of the people that I met at the time were.
Did you already know them? Did you know them personally, or did this come through research, or are any of these people?
No. I just out of curiosity, I'll just go around. I'll ask questions. Then I found out that there were some IDP camps in Abuja, and so I'll go there. I'll ask them questions, and then they will tell me of how their life was before and how they were. I mean, like, these are people that are super rich, and then looking at their living conditions at the time was disturbing. So while watching that documentary, it was at that point that I scribbled down the name of my project, and I said, based on I've been having this conversation with people and wondering how I could shed light on what was going on with them, but I'd never thought about the aspect of their mental health. How do they? I remember a man that told me how he was super rich, he was a headmaster, he used to have thousands of dollars. I don't want to say it in naira, which is our currency, but he had thousands of dollars. Although he wasn't keeping in a bank, and he had so many assets and all of that, but due to insurgency, everything got taken away from him, and he had to live. He had to live in a house with 14 members of his family in a 2-bedroom house. So I started to think about how I've been having conversations with these people. Maybe I should look at how it is. People were, what it means to go from grace to grass, that type of thing. And how does it work? Do they really move on? Because
were they open to speak about this, or was it difficult to win the trust?
This was at the time where I'm still talking about when before I started the project. Now, when I eventually started the project, yes, it did take a while to get access to start the project. I remember at the time I only had about probably 20 or less than 20 euros in my account, and it was really hard because every time I had to keep going there. But eventually, when I got access, it was really amazing because one person would talk, and then the next thing everybody would come out and talk, and it was like we're having group sessions. It was very interesting. I felt it was somehow sort of healing for some of them because we sit down in a group.
Would they also kind of say, I spoke to Etinosa, here she is, maybe you can share your story as well? Were they telling each other that you were there to listen? And
so the thing is, the more that you go back to a place, of course, they might not remember your name. They'll just call you May Photo. But the more that you go back to a place, the more that people would remember you. The more that people would say, oh, I know that sister. Auntie, come and sit down. Then we'll talk about it, and we'll just ask questions. We'll talk. I always try not to make it more like interviews. I like to say it's called a conversation. I don't like to use the word interviews because it's very I'm asking you this question, you answer me, but it's more like a conversation. So depending on what they tell me, then I ask other questions like that. But it's really interesting. And then sometimes there are times when I had to go to a place, depending on the context of what the person has gone through. We have to do have the conversations in a private area, just for some confidentiality of the person,
of course,
especially when their family doesn't seem to understand what they are going through. Because I had that situation somewhere in Adamawa where the family, sort of felt the woman was, like a psychiatric patient, but actually she was going through PTSD and she was having all these flashbacks. But because they didn't understand what she was going through, they were, picking on her and making a mockery of her, and then, somehow maltreating her. So yeah, it differs. I wouldn't say that anytime I go to the field, I know what to expect, but depending on what I see, I keep an open mind and I adjust to the situation on ground.
And what did you, can you explain what you did with the two different layers. Actually, there's more than two layers, I think, right?
Yeah. Some of them are three
More than
layers. Some of them
yeah,
are,
exactly.
some of
I
them
wonder.
are, different layers. So when I knew that I was going to work on this project, I had to think, because for me as a photographer, I'm very particular about. At the time I wasn't particular about it, but I think as I've grown, I've realized that presentation matters a lot. So the thing is, mental health is not a new topic, and we're not ever going to stop talking about mental health. But how do I get people to see? I wanted people to see what's going on in their, in their state of mind. I wanted to be able to draw the attention of these people, to see it, to feel it. You know what I mean? To figure out how can we change the status quo of some of these people. How can we make it, for example, how can we, more importantly, make mental health services more accessible? How can we create a safe space where people can come together and talk about what they are being through, and they don't need to like man up about the things that they're being through. And so I was doing a research, and then I saw something about double exposure. I'd never heard about it, but I saw something about double exposure in camera on YouTube. And then I watched the video and I was like, this is fascinating. I like it. I think this is what I'm going to do for my project. And before then, I'd also seen Daniela Zalkman. She's the author of Signs of Your Identity. I'd seen her work, but I didn't know the technique was called double exposure. So I went back, I looked at the work, I was like, this is what it is, And then I knew that this was definitely the style I was going to use for the project, because it was one way to get people to mirror what was going on in their mind and put it up, so that people look at the pictures and have a feel and have an idea of, what they're going through.
And did you also, there's some beautiful writing here as well that they wrote about their experience.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask them to write this down, or?
Okay, so I think a lot of people confuse that for handwritten.
Yeah, it's handwritten, but you didn't write it, they wrote it.
No,
it's not handwritten, it's computer.
Yeah, so I use the font that looks like an actual writing.
Oh, you found some fancy ones, because they sometimes look really fake, but this looks so real.
No, this one looks so real. So this was actually somebody who had taken a piece of paper, taking time to put it together, and then so but what I do,
let me show it to people who are listening so they know what I'm talking about. Wait.
Okay.
And would it be possible maybe to read one to us? We're losing time a bit. It's going so quick. I would love to speak to you all night.
Oh my God, it's so quick. It's really quick.
So quick,
I'm just going to pull up.
But you have a lot to say, because this is such a important story. But if you can read one to us, I can't believe this is not the real handwriting. It looked so real to me.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to read the text of, let's see, Jimo Burton. I think it's quite short, so I could actually read it out.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. I know I have reworked some of this text, so I'm just going to pull it out now. Please just give me a few seconds and it will be open. Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so I have the folder from the current exhibition. So this is Jimo Burton. I know I've done some edits in terms of some, Okay, so I have this text here where he says, I went to fish, and when I returned, I saw smoke. I saw my house had been burnt. 4 of my kids suffered burns. I took them to the hospital and they stayed there for a month. My wife's shop was also not spared. All her goods were burnt. I was a successful fisherman, and all that changed in one day. I'm not happy at all. Sometimes I pray for death. I can barely take care of myself nor my children. I lost everything I had. I'm not happy. And that's from Jimo Burton. He's age 35, lives in Lagos, Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I'm really happy that you have these together with the images. I think it makes it, the images already are super extremely strong, but together with their testimonies, I think it really comes to life. There's a question coming in from Mahmoud, someone we actually interviewed the week before.
Okay.
And he's asking you, as a photographer, what do you like to explore most in the coming period?
In the coming period.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, currently I'm working on a project that is very not heavy. Look, when I started working on it all in my head, it got to me up until it always gets to me, and it became so heavy for me. And I needed to find a way to be my own therapist. I needed to find a way to be able to balance, to be able to put my mental health in check. You know what I mean? Because you see, you go for these interviews and then you talk to about 10 people in a space of 2 weeks.
That's
and then
heavy.
Somehow you internalize these people's pain. You don't know that you've internalized it. But as the year goes by, you find that you're not being happy, you're being sad, you're being, a certain way, and you can't express yourself. And because I rarely do talk about, my experiences in the field when I go home, because I also don't want people to feel heavy. So I keep it to myself.
Keep it to yourself. Yeah,
I keep it to myself. So somehow, I think in 2019, I sort of had to find a way around, I needed to start doing projects that were not heavy, that, would just make me happy. So it's a sort of escapism, you know what I mean? So it's my own coping mechanism, right? So I started working on a project in 2019. I paused it. I restarted in 2020. And it's a different subject matter where I'm exploring masculinity. And it actually makes me happy to work on the project. It's really exciting.
Tell me, what are you photographing then? More details. Don't keep it to yourself.
It's really beautiful. I'm looking at masculinity as it relates to outward appearance, and it's really fascinating. I'm hoping to publish it by May. I'm just trying to put it together. It's a multimedia project, so I'm currently in the trying to get some of the content out, some of the research. As I always say, I call it research because I consider myself a researcher. It's a visual research collaborative project where I'm working with men. I'm currently working with men, younger men, and as I continue the project, I will be involving older men in the project. It takes place in the studio. It's beautiful. It's colorful. I love it so much.
Wow,
when I feel sad, I think about the project because it makes me happy.
Work on this one.
I'm working on this one. It's not heavy.
To keep a good balance, I would say, between a project like this and then this project.
Definitely.
So, I wish we could talk for 5 more hours, but we have to round it up. Can't believe
that's
it.
Fine.
But thank you so much. And the museum is going to share your work on their Instagram account. So if any other questions come in, or if anyone is now watching thinking, but I want to ask Etinosa this or that, please leave it in the comments. And then I hope you want to answer them. Would you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure.
I think there's a lot of fans watching. I love it that people call you Chief. I'm going to keep that in
they're
mind.
My friends, they're
Chief
my friends.
Etinosa.
I love them.
I love
my friends. They're showing support to their fellow friends. But thank you so much,
lovely.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. This video will be uploaded on the Instagram IGTV channel of the museum. And next week, we're going to have the last session. So please be with us next week. And Etinosa, thank you so much.
Thank you too. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And
it's actually good to see
you. Yeah, good to be in a chat with you.
Yeah,
Thanks
you.
so much.
Yeah,
bye.
Bye.